I've been a pretty big fan of Myrath recently, since basically when I came across them about maybe a year ago. Um, I found them on the Legacy album. I found the songs really catchy, quite unique because they have a Tunisian sound to it, which I haven't really heard anywhere in metal. So it's like a whole new idea. So it was just kind of refreshing and really nice to hear that. It was really catchy music and everything. It had solos in at least one of the singles, so I enjoyed that. They were missing solos in the other singles, but the rest of the album may have had it. So when I started looking more into Myrath, Legacy was quite a simple album, but again, it really heavily incorporated a Tunisian sound in it. It had Tunisian language in the odd kind of song with like bits of the chorus or bits of a verse and things. It was extremely catchy music. It was extremely unique and different. But as I said, they kind of had solos. They were some kind of sometimes good, sometimes just, and then other times just not really great. But I do appreciate the fact that there is a solo there just to kind of give a bit more to the song. But overall, it was quite simple, even though it was extremely unique and catchy, and it was an easy album to get into. So going back through the catalog kind of made Legacy even better because Myrath has always been a changing band. So if you go all the way back to the 2008, I believe they released the album Hope. That is an extremely metal album with not too much in the way of a Tunisian sound. It's just really aggressive, heavy metal, massively long guitar solos that are actually extremely well done, as well as key solos as well from the keyboards. The second album, Desert Call, still very progressive in a way with big solos and everything, but instead of it being aggressive, it was a bit more, had a bit more of a melody to it. And the album after that, they started going to incorporate more of that Tunisian sound with them simplifying the sound a little, so it was still kind of metal and heavy, but at the same time it was going a more kind of rock and typical sound kind of way. So yeah, it was a more simple album, but still had metal parts, still rock stuff, catchy Tunisian stuff being incorporated, and still solos, but a bit more simplified. Legacy, as I said, they went more to just kind of like rock and melody, really heavy on the Tunisian sound, and they stripped the solos out, but I kind of took that as they're just trying to be musical. It's all about the Tunisian sound and everything, and that's what they're trying to go for, just it being Tunisian, being catchy, and being really simple. But going from that, they've obviously took the solos out. They've simplified the sound and everything. The structure's just gone to the basic. Just you got your intro, your verse, your chorus, verse, chorus, maybe a solo, back to the chorus. It's a formula that's done by billions of bands out there. So with this album now, Shehili, are they basically just going to stick to this simple sound? Are they going to try and now bring in massive solos that they did on Hope? Are they going really heavy? Where have they got left to really go? Because if they follow in the same suit as Legacy, even though I really like that album, it was good because it was different, but it is extremely simple. So if you do that again, it's not going to be good. So let's just get into it with the first track, Born to Survive. So before I start, I should say, yes, I know there is an intro track, but Born to Survive, the first actual track, has an introduction before the song kicks in. So it's like there's an intro track, then an intro for the first track, actual track, then the song. So what's the point of the first track having an intro when Born to Survive has a perfectly fine intro? So just delete the first track, completely pointless, completely useless, really stupid. So Born to Survive starts about the band. It's basically just a Tunisian thing. You've got, I don't know anything about Tunisian music, but it's got Tunisian kind of singing going on. You got the Tunisian kind of drum instruments and other things going on, the kind of violin stuff, I believe. And that kind of just goes on for maybe around 15-20 seconds. Then you get the actual band coming in with the guitars and everything. And technically this is different to Legacy already, because this is quite aggressive. It's a very simple, just power chord kind of structure. There's nothing unique going on. There's no lead. There's nothing overly technical, difficult, or musical really about it. It's just very simple power chord with gain. That's it. So very, very bland and boring, but it is different to Legacy because it is heavy. It's not exactly Hope style of thing because that was technical. So just explaining this, it's basically just Legacy, but heavier, which ain't exactly doing anything really new. Like, turning the gain up isn't really exactly blowing my mind. It's nothing big or amazing. It's just Legacy with high gain. Any child could come up with that. So that kind of goes until we get to the verse. The vocalist again is doing a whole new style compared to everything he did on Legacy. It's a lot more kind of an aggressive delivery. Not as aggressive as he does on the album Hope. I would say it's kind of a mix between his Hope singing style as well as maybe the third. He kind of sits in the middle there. So the guitars kind of just do a few chugging, then take a pause, and then a few chugging. It's a very simple, bland thing that musicians do, where it's just like dun dun, a few chords, take a pause, dun dun, a few chords, take a pause. Very bland and boring. Then you get to the actual chorus. The sound really kind of opens up here. The singer goes to his more musical Legacy style of vocal delivery. Really nice, kind of power and soar there. There's a small section of lead in the background, just na-na-na-na-na, and that kind of sounds nice, but because it's so small and so kind of faded, even though it's like that is a lead, it doesn't really do anything where you can actually give it credit for any reason. It's just there. So that's kind of crap. The verse again's the same, chorus the same. Then after that, before you hit the actual solo, you get that Tunisian kind of intro with the singers and everything back again, leading into the solo. The solo has one phrase, then it's repeated, then it's a similar sounding phrase but changed a little. Then he repeats that whole section again. Then he repeats that entire section again, but on a higher note. And then he does a whittle, and that's it. So yeah, unbelievably god awful compared to the fact that the first album, Hope, this guitarist was doing some amazing things where you can actually say he's not just a good guitarist or mega guitarist, he's a brilliant and amazing guitarist. So doing something like that, it's just like you're on the same standard as like Billy Joe of Green Day. This is absolutely pathetic. Like, God, I could imagine Avril Lavigne can do this. It's just so bland, not really any imagination to it. Well, yeah, there is no imagination to it. It's like someone kind of goes in brain dead trying to attempt a solo. It's pretty pathetic, especially for him. So I'm amazingly disappointed because he has amazing talent, and he does show it later on the album. So yeah, Born to Survive overall, it's good, and it's different to Legacy because it's heavy, but it's just like structure-wise and the way they do the song and how it flows and everything, it is exactly the same. The only thing they've changed is basically it's just a bit heavier than Legacy. It's heavier. And that's kind of it. Everything is basic. The formula and the structure of the song is basic. The solo was unbelievably awful. So, Myrath is a catchy band. So, the song is still catchy. It's still fun. The singer, it still sounds great. it still has a Tunisian sound in there, which has a uniqueness to it, but they've been doing that for a while now, so it's starting to lose that unique nature and it's starting to become just average and just typical, because it's been done a fair bit now by them. So, if you're new to the band, then this will be great, because it will be unique to you, and it is catchy and it has a great voice. But for people who've kind of been with Myrath, this is quite disappointing and doesn't really offer anything new. So, yeah, basically it. So let's get into the next track then, which is called You've Lost Yourself. So if you've lost yourself, it starts again with just the Tunisian stuff. It's basically just the Tunisian kind of drum kind of sounds, and nothing really else. And then the guitars come in again. They've got a heaviness to them, so it's still basically being a heavier version of Legacy. What's being played is actually a bit more interesting than the previous song. There's a bit more to it. Not like it's amazing and there's a lead going on. It's just a bit more interesting. There's just a few more notes he's kind of throwing at you, but other than that, it's basically just, it's still kind of like around the chord kind of thing and everything. It's just he's doing more notes, kinda, I believe. So technically it's a bit more interesting, but it's not something like, wow, I'm surprised, I'm really liking this. It's just like, okay, I'm a bit more invested, but other than that, it's not doing much. There is a sound effect in the intro, which is a raid siren, I believe is the right thing. So I believe it's a raid siren, and I think raid siren is the right name for it. I actually like this. So it's just this long raid siren that kind of just carries on through this intro with the heavy riff going on and things. And I do kind of like this sound effect, because it kind of brings the kind of like emergency feel to the song. It kind of makes it sound like there's like, you know, an emergency going on. There's something big happening. So I do kind of like this. When it gets to the verse, though, it actually calms down. It kind of goes quite melodic. Singer is obviously singing in a more kind of laid back kind of manner. His voice obviously really nice. It's nice to hear it in a nice relaxed kind of atmosphere. There's no guitars. I don't know if there's any keys. There's definitely drums, maybe a bit of bass. Maybe there is the odd key, but it's very subtle. So it's very kind of nice and calm and everything. Really nice melody. So do kind of like that. Again, there's nothing amazingly wow. It's really nice to listen to. It's pleasant. The guitar comes in with basically just a whammy pull. I don't think it's a push, I think it's a pull, so he kind of whammies himself in, and then it's, you know, just typical kind of chord thing again. The singer takes it to a high register and everything, because everything kind of builds up. Chorus is a bit more kind of key heavy and everything, a bit more kind of a quicker pace and everything. Again, there's not really much going on. It's basically just, it's a chorus, so they kind of change the kind of pacing and everything. They open it up a little bit, have a bit more of a high energy to it, but it's nothing too amazing or special. The cool thing is basically the part that leads the chorus back to the verse. The guitarist actually does a lead that leads it to the verse, and I really like this. It's really quick. It's a very kind of fast lead. So I do like that, and I hope there's more of it, because it just adds more variety and just gives more energy to the song. So I hope I see that more in the rest. So really like that. Gets back to the verse, but before the chorus actually hits where it's supposed to, you get a cut, and it's kind of piano key thing with the singer. Then you get a bit of a guitar lead kind of in the background, just kind of to build it into what the chorus is. So I like that, because obviously there's something new placed there. Again, it's not giving me a lot of new structure, but it's definitely giving different elements here and there. We've had the lead part, the first verse had a bit of a build up. We had the air raid siren, that was something a little different. This next verse had that kind of small piano kind of break before the chorus hits, where it was actually supposed to hit. So it's given it a bit of variety, but again, because all the musicians what they're doing is quite basic apart from that fast lead. And it's still kind of following the same aspect of Legacy. It's quite simple. There is not a lot of new stuff going on. Legacy did have new stuff and a lot of things going on, but it was still quite simple. This is just heavier again, so it's still nothing special. Let's get into the solo. There is a solo, and yeah, I better not say anything about this. I'm just gonna say there's a solo, and I'm not even gonna bloody talk about it because it's not worth it. So you can imagine. That is pretty much the song. So let's just get into the next one, Dance. So Dance kind of follows in the same line as the song Believer off of the Legacy album, and it was actually the first single that was released for this album. So obviously Believer was a very, very catchy, upbeat, really energetic, a lot of fun, amazing song. So saying Dance is the same, kinda, obviously kind of means it's a hell of a lot of fun. The chorus is just so amazingly catchy, it's great fun, and it sounds amazing. Now, people have probably now already started kind of yelling at me, well, you've given the previous two tracks a bit of crap for being kind of the same as Legacy. Now you're saying this song is a complete rip-off of the track Believer, and you're saying you like it. Well, in a way, yes. So, how am I not being a hypocrite then? Well, Believer is a very, very, very catchy song and really, really, really fun. So even though it is kind of the same, it is a bit more forgivable because you can still have a lot of fun with it. And Believer was the most fun on that album and was like one of the only tracks that was that fun and high energy. So Dance, even though it is kind of the same, it is only the second kind of track you get with that amazing high energy and a lot of fun stuff to it. But getting into Dance, and why this is actually better than Believer, and another reason why I do like it, which will make more sense instead of me just being an absolute hypocrite. Everything kind of still is kind of the same. Obviously it's not a complete rip-off unless it would just be Believer, so there is new stuff, but it kind of flows the exact same way. It is still kind of fun energy and everything. But the second verse of this song is completely different to the first verses for Believer. I don't believe they actually did that. So this is taking that and improving on it because it's giving it a bit more layering. Before the second chorus hits in, you get a bit of a piano lead. It's very small and everything, and a bit kind of subtle and short, but I do kind of like it because it is there. You can hear it. It's a piano lead and everything, and I do kind of like that. That's given a bit more to it. Then the solo, even though there is a solo in Believer and it was quite nice and everything, the solo in this, with Dance, is incredible. Also, where Believer, before it got to the solo, there was a massive drawn out nothingness until the solo came in, which was a pain in the neck. It's just irritating. Dance doesn't have that. You just kind of get into the solo. There's no irritating pause. There's a bit of a pause, but it's really not as bad as Believer was. That was god awful. So yeah, there's a bit of a pause, but when the solo comes in for Dance, it's just so musical and has so much emotion and feel to it, and it just sounds so nice. It's so much fun, great energy, amazing tone. It is an incredibly amazing solo. The mid part of the solo, there is a repeated phrase which he repeats twice, maybe 3 times. Everything kind of comes in threes, I guess. So he does repeat it 3 times, but the solo is very long. It has length to it. So even though there is a repeated phrase, it's not really that bad. So you got this massively long start of the solo, which has a lot of changing parts and everything. He doesn't repeat a phrase at all, and it sounds amazing, very musical and everything. Slight repetitive phrase, but then after that you still got more length to the solo anyway, so there's still way more going on. So that's amazing. The solo is amazing and an improvement on Believer. And then another kind of new thing which makes this an improvement over Believer is the chorus this time round. There's a whole lead going on through it. So the entire chorus that they go through twice, I think, there's just a lead constantly going on. And it's not just a low lead, it is a lead solo. There is stuff going on, speed and musical aspects and holds and soars, and it's absolutely incredible. So this amazing, catchy, fun, energetic chorus has an amazingly fun, energetic solo that's going on. So it just makes it way bigger than anything Believably was. So even though it follows the same line of Believer, they basically took that idea and they built on top of it. The second verse, they've made it different. There's a bit of a piano lead before the second chorus. The solo is a massive improvement. The last chorus, instead of it just being exactly the same, they put a lead on it, making it way more energetic and fun than what Believer was, which was already said to be like the most fun kind of song you can really do. And how can you improve on that? They did. So even though it is quite similar, I do like the fact that they've basically took Believer, which was a fantastic song, and they've blown it out the water and just come out with Dance and just massively improved on it. It's just night and day. You can't say Believer's better anymore. Dance has really just improved on it. So again, it is like Believer, and stuff that's happening is still very simplistic, besides, you know, the solos and the leads and everything. But the rest of the stuff that's going on is still kind of simple. It's still kind of like Believer, but it's very catchy, maybe even more so than Believer. Last chorus solos and everything. I just basically think they've took a previous idea and they've built on it, which is what bands should do. They should basically take their sound and build on it. Not abandon it altogether and into the core sound and then just build and keep growing. And this is what Dance kind of does. It would have been good if there was a little bit more to it, of course, with basically just not doing simple chord structures and things. But it is an improvement overall, so I am very pleased with the song Dance. So let's get into the next track, Wicked Dice. So Wicked Dice kind of has an intro again for basically around 5 seconds. It's just an ominous kind of sound until the kind of band comes in. Again, it's heavy, so again, just heavier version of kind of Legacy so far. The riff actually is a lot more interesting than the riffs that have come before it. It's mid-tempo and everything, so there's not much going on. It's not exactly a lead, it's just he puts a bit of flavour kind of here and there, just a bit of a kind of a bend and everything on the string and things, just giving it a bit more of an interesting feel. So it's not just simply a chord or a power chord, there is a bit of finesse going on, just a teeny bit. So it is good. It's still following that ominous sound. It's mid-tempo, it's got a very kind of dark atmosphere to it and everything. It is quite dark and a teeny bit of finesse, so quite interesting. When the verse comes in though, it's got a really nice kind of melody to it and rhythm. It's really kind of nice. It loses its kind of ominous, kind of creepy feel. It's there a little bit, but it's mostly kind of lost. So I don't know if they were trying to keep it, but it is mostly kind of gone because the verse just kind of sounds really nice and pleasant. So you can't really say kind of creepy and everything when it's just like, ooh, this is very pleasant. So they kind of lose it a little bit, but it's got a real nice melody to it, this verse. I really kind of like it. The voice sounds amazing. I do think I've probably kind of heard this before. I think on Legacy or maybe a previous album, there's been something a bit reminiscent to how this kind of feels and sounds. But nonetheless, it does sound really nice. Before the chorus comes in, you get a bit of a piano lead kind of again, then a bit of violin leading into the chorus. Nothing special about the chorus. It is just, you know, one of these kind of bland things where they try and give you something a little kind of catchy, a bit more kind of open in nature, but nothing really special at all, so that's about it. Before the second verse comes in, so there's leading back into that that intro kind of riff that was being played is there again, and then they quiet it down. And then it goes into the second verse where that intro riff is actually playing in the background, but lower. So they've kind of turned the volume down on it a little. Because the first verse didn't have that riff in there, so it's a whole different riff put into this second verse, and I really like the sound of this turned down. It adds a whole new kind of dimension to it. Sounds really good. You still get that kind of key bit before the chorus comes back. The solo is got kind of an effect on it. He kind of plays it and it sounds, you know, a little weird, and then he kind of repeats that pattern for a few times. Just ooh, there's an effect, it sounds weird, just ooh, look at this, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, just because you can put an effect on it to make it sound weird, yeah, it doesn't mean just do that 3 times and then give up. That's just something a child would do, like, oh my god, it makes this funny sound, ooh, look at this, and then be done. So pathetic. But luckily there's a second solo. So second solo, fantastic. Not a repeated phrase, very musical, great tone again. So really sounds nice. It's extremely pleasing. It goes for a while, and then eventually it gets to a point where it's building, so you can like, oh, it's heading somewhere. Here it comes, and then he cuts the thing off, which is weird. It was definitely a build up to something even grander, and he just shuts the whole thing down. So that's problematic. That was stupid. So yeah, good sounding solo, was great, was building to something. He shut it down. So yeah, that's it. Let's go on to the next track then, Monster in My Closet. So Monster in My Closet is starting to now feel kind of boring and a bit repetitive. Starts off with anonymous tone, guitars come in, they're heavy, quite basic, not really anything going on with them. You get a bit of Tunisian coming in and out, and then in and out as the intro goes. When it gets to the verse, everything kind of cuts out. You just get some like key drums, maybe some bass, maybe a Tunisian sound in there and everything. It's just kind of mellow and a little dark and everything. But it feels like this has kind of been done before on this album as well as Legacy. We've had the intro that has the ominous start and then heavy stuff, but it's quite basic. The Tunisian things there, I've heard that loads before. And then when the verse kind of starts, it's mellow. Then what happens? Second part of the verse, it gets heavier. It's predictable. Even all of you who haven't even heard this could probably say, yeah, it's probably going to be heavier the second part when I said what happens. So yeah, that happens. Going into the chorus, it actually gets quite cheerful. It's a nice sounding chorus. Again, there's not really anything exciting going on. It's just the chorus is quite nice and sounds nice. Back to the thing of Tunisian thing, leading back to the mellow kind of chorus and builds to heavy. So not really anything going on. It's quite bland, and it's just now starting to just feel the same, and you're kind of getting a bit bored of it by now. Solo in this song though, you get a phrase kind of repeated twice, then he changes it for like a second, and then he repeats it again twice. Then you get a bit of whittling, then you get another phrase that he then repeats about 4 times, and he does something, and then he repeats it again for another 4 times, and then gives up. So this is just absolutely lazy, like just repeating a phrase constantly, which the first time round wasn't even that great. Just sounds lazy. And for people saying, no, it is good, there was diversity because there was the phrase, then another phrase, and then in between them there was 2 other things going on. Go back, listen to Hope, where there would be like a minute, 2-minute bloody solo from the guy, and he never repeats anything. And then come back and say, yeah, this is better than what he did back then, you won't be able to. And if you did, you have no idea about music, and you can't be took seriously. Sorry, that's the way it is. So, yeah, solo, pretty pathetic. And at this point, this formula has already been done on this album. There's nothing new, there's nothing unique about it. Does it sound bad? No, it is still a decent sounding song, catchy with the unique Tunisian thing, but yeah, there's just not much to it. So that's kind of it for the song. It's got a decent chorus and everything. It's got this Tunisian unique sound in it. interesting. There is a solo, pretty bland, but I do appreciate it is there. I'd rather it be there than not being there. So let's get into the last track for this video, which is Lily Twill, I think. So this song starts off with a new kind of Tunisian instrument. No idea what the name of the bloody thing is, but I believe it's brand new for the band, maybe. And then it leads into the bass and just drum cymbals. And it's quite interesting, the rhythm it's got going, it's just really interesting. So I'm quite intrigued so far. Then you've got a few drum fills here and there, and then the bass and the cymbals are still going in that rhythm. Sounds very interesting. And then eventually the guitar comes in with this riff, and Jesus Christ, I really like this riff. And just the kind of effect he's got on it and everything, and then just like the way it's played and the kind of rhythm of it, it just sounds so cool and unique. Like, it's something I think I heard years ago. Like, it sounds like this kind of sound and thing would come out of, I don't know, the 70s maybe. This is the kind of the thing I kind of get in my mind. I think there's also a harmonic he hits in there, pinched harmonic, just a harmonic or something. I think he hits at one point. But just the intro, the tone, the effect, it sounds so cool. I really like it, so I like that, and I do like the kind of bass cymbal kind of build up. That was kind of cool and different, and a little unique sounding as well. So I kind of actually really like that whole part. That was really good. But then we get to the verse. The vocals are sung in their Tunisian style. They have done this previously, just to kind of give it more of their Tunisian culture and everything. So it's not something new and unique, but it is different. So for those who are new to this, then there you go, something new. But again, this is following just the previous track. It starts just like drums and bass and keys with the melody vocals, and the guitar eventually comes in, then releases the chorus, and just like, that is it, really. It's just been so done before. And again, it's just like, I got something so unique and interesting that I kind of thought this could be good, but now I'm just getting the same regurgitated crap that you've kind of given me before, as well as previous albums. So I'm a little kind of fed up again. The solo is very kind of slow, drawn out solo. Like, he would pick and then he would hold a note for really long, which can be musical and everything, and just, you know, hold and have the note linger to give it effect and everything, and each note plays its part instead of just doing a billion notes. Each note, because it's so drawn out and everything, plays a part and is vital. But I think it's the one note over and over and over again. It's got this massively drawn out part where you can seriously distinguish the note because it lasts for like a fair few seconds. And then he plays it like 6 times. This one note. He just holds it. Is this musical? Is this interesting? Is this varied? Is this talented? No. I don't even know if this is a solo. It's just so stupid. So that's kind of it. Like, the first part of the song, God, it's incredible. Then the rest of it's kind of just regurgitated stuff, and then the solo, I can't tell you if it's a solo or not. So that is kind of it for the first part of this review. So part 2, we'll get on to the final 5 tracks, which should be shorter than this one because this one's been 6 tracks, so technically it should be shorter. Also had the intro. So with part 2, I'll just go straight into the next song, no holding back immediately. There'll be no intro at all. So yeah, that's basically the first part of this album done with my impressions. I'm not going to score this part. I'm going to, in the second part, score the overall thing. So you'll have to wait till then. So I hope you have all enjoyed this first part of the review. I hope you join me in the second part. So I hope to see you there, everyone.